All right. Good morning, Benton Harbor. It is Monday, May 9th, 2022, and you are on with Chat with the Chief. I'm Director Dan McGinnis with the City of Benton Harbor Public Safety Department. We're here every Monday, 9 o'clock, 9 to 10, talking about issues that affect the city and ultimately the whole 49022. So, coming out of Mother's Day was a great day yesterday. I really enjoyed it. Actually, it's one of my favorite holidays outside of Easter, as far as celebrating that, and of course followed by Christmas. I think Christmas because we're supposed to like that, but Easter and Mother's Day are my personal favorites. Um, so actually, we are on today with we got our guest Shaquille Turner. Shaquille Turner, actually, Brenton Harbor resident, born and raised. Actually, now he gallivants about the country with the position that he's in. I'll let him explain that. I met Shaquille some time ago when he was a young man. Got in a little trouble. He might talk about that. Give us a little testimony of where he was versus where he is now. He's actually working, so he's on the road, but apparently they can do that. He's a supervisor of a big trucking company. Again, I'll let him talk about that. But I wanted to talk to Mr. Turner today about the a young person's perspective of what's going on, and more importantly, how can we engage you? How can we engage the youth here? And I think that we all agree, at least from people that's older like me, that
Mhm.
your guys' generation is quite different than we're used to. How do we successfully bridge the gap? I think overall, then ultimately we're talking about how do we fix Ben Harbor? How do we affect change Ben Harbor? And again, engage the young people because ultimately our goal is to get rid of the violence, then also get the sense of community back. So, Brother Shaq, thank God for you. Good morning, and start off by telling us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your testimony, if you will. Some people say we sometimes too churchy. I can't take that. I mean, whatever. So, tell us about yourself, where you
You,
come from, where you are now.
I want to say thank you for inviting me to here. I grew up in Ben Harbor. I enjoyed public safety. Before Ben Harbor was public safety, it was Ben Harbor Police. Then you had the fire department. So I was there, and I was the smallest cadet, Ben Harbor, you want to say. And I watched the transition. I watched the struggle with the department to where we are today. I never imagined myself getting to the place where I'm at today. But I had to go through a transition where I did a life of a crime, and God said to me, we can't hold your past against you. You have to move on and to better yourself. So when I was doing my small incarceration in that period of time, I began to hear the voice of God say, if you suffer a while, I can bring you back up and I can establish you before great men. And during that transition, we didn't have no pastor, we didn't have no missionary, we didn't have no deacon, we didn't have no chaplain or nothing to come in and bring forth the word. And I remember my grandma always saying, you got it. And I can hear my grandmother's voice saying, Shaquille, God's going to be with you. And I heard the voice so clear where God was using me in the midst of a prison cell, talking to men who was crying out for God and said, what do I do to be saved? These men was in prison, they was in gangs, they wanted to get free, they wanted to better their life, and I remember just ministering unto them what I knew about the word of God, and I watched God use me. And during that period of that time, God said, I'm going to provoke you to be a change maker. And I never understood what that really meant until I got back into society. And when I came back to society, and I remember we going to the post, we going to the pandemic, and I'll never forget the co-pastor said, Shaquille, would you help serve the church? I love being a bench member. I did not want to serve the church at all. I wanted to ride the bench until the day I die, probably. And when I became faithful serving the church, I watched new doors open up for me as a young man. When I first started driving in the trucking industry, I was making only 27 cents per mile, which
Ooh,
would be only $400 a week. That's less than people work at McDonald's. So you imagine driving a semi truck for 27 cents per mile. And God said, if you can continue to be faithful to that same job, I will bring you up. But you got to keep on being faithful. You got to keep on serving. You can't give up. And I kept on serving. And then someone called me back in Ben Harbor and said, Shaquille, would you mind serving the community of Ben Harbor? So I went back and served Ben Harbor food every day, hitting the ground hard. I was in Highland projects. I was in bus projects. I was meeting different individuals who was hungry, and I seen the thirst when our people in our community was going through a struggle. And that's what really got me on the ground. Said, you got to be a fighter. You can't remain silent no more, people in Ben Harbor. You got to be a voice for the people who are voiceless. And that's what I got to the point where that somebody in Ben Harbor got to start speaking up for the people in Ben Harbor who are voiceless, who feel like there's nobody there to talk with them. So that's how I got engaged with politics. I didn't want to be a politician, but I feel as though that's what God is calling me, to be the voice, to be the change maker, because we are looking toward the White House. We are looking toward the city government for change. Change is not going to come from them. Change has to come from us. And we as a society, where we don't change, we're not going to better our young people. And unfortunately, as young people, you can't talk to us on in a city hall. We're not there. We are in 120 characters. So if you want to meet me where I'm at, you got to come where I'm located at. And a lot of our young people, we are on social media. And so what I see and back in Ben Harbor, particularly Ben Harbor, is that our leadership is not going where our young people are. Our young people are in the trap houses, they're in the trenches, and they're crying out. There is not only the young people, it's older adults as well. We're leaving them out because we don't want to hear what they got to say. And I learned this in prison from people who's in gang. I went to my blood, Chris, Vice Lords, you name them. And they said, we're being so disrespectful that nobody want to hear what we're talking about. And this is why I challenge all city commissioners to join me on June 16th to 23rd. Let's get out in Ben Harbor. Let's go door to door. Let's hear from the community. Let's go back into a huddle and draft a plan of how we are going to rebuild Ben Harbor back to how it used to be.
All right. So, brother Turner, you said a whole lot. So we got a whole hour, so we can let's break up a little bit. Thank you for your passion. So you mentioned you're in prison.
Correct.
Right? So you're in prison. So we don't need to know all the particulars of that. So that was, you were there.
Right.
And now you're here. You forgot about that part. So you went from, and you mentioned the 27 cents a mile, but now you supervise men in a major truck. And let's tell the people that he's kind of bouncing up and down because he is on the road now. So if you see his connection looks a little bouncy, or it might go out in and out a little bit, he's actually traveling to Iowa.
Correct, Iowa.
To Iowa. So where has from your perspective, from where you came from, you talked about hunkering down and staying the course. Where are you now? Where has the Lord brought you now in your life? And at 28 years old, what are you doing?
Today, God has opened up new doors, and once again, let me back up some. I suffered with suicide for over 10 years. I shot myself. The bullets backfired. I took bottles of pain pills because I wanted my heart to just completely stop. And God said, if you can continue to suffer a while, I'm going to bring you up. I'm going to show you the vision I have for you. I'm going to show you what the new doors that I'm going to open up for you. And when I got out of prison, I'm not going to say the individual name, she held me back and said, you can't be a truck driver by policy law. There was never a policy that said that I could never be a truck driver by being an ex-felon. Not one policy. There was federal funding available for me to become a truck driver, because people will say, well, you can get a job, I was denied job after job after job after job. And at that point in time, the hunger and thirst inside of me said, you know what? I can't look back. I will remember those people in prison who said, Shaq, don't come back. You got to hold it down for us. Make us proud, because we can't come out. We have life in prison. We can't come out to society. You got to be the voice for us. And so I done that, and I got a trucking job, and she said, Shaq, you got to come back to Ben Harbor. So I went back to Ben Harbor, and I kept on fighting. And I called every member of Congress it was. I called everybody in the state of Michigan, and I said, the devil is a lie. Somebody gonna break this forth. And I found out that she couldn't handle me now. So I had her, and I'm not trying to be mean on this to her. She was very good to me, but I found out that she was trying to hold me back. And so this is what the issue we have when people who are ex-felons is that we're trying to get our feedback on ground to move forward, but we're being blocked. And so I found out, and God said, if you keep on pushing and push on, I got you. I kept on pushing and kept on pushing. And that's when new doors opened up for me. I started with the trucking industry at 27 cents per mile, which was slave wages for the trucking industry. I was making $400. That was no money to even save, because by the time you added my shower was $4, a parking fee was $30. That stuff adds up out here, you know. And so I kept on going. And God said, now I got you to the point where I'm about to better you. Just keep on serving me and keep on praising me. And I said, okay, I got you. And I kept on doing it. I became a driver trainer. Then the drivers picked me out, and they said, Shaquille, we want you now to become the next acting director of regional supervisor. I said, man, that's a lot of responsibility, because it is 350 drivers under me. I said, I don't want to be in the office. I got to be virtual. So they said, okay, bet. So now I'm in a position of an acting director that, you know, and I oversee 350 drivers. I love all my drivers. They know I'm not mean, I'm just strict. You know, and I think that's the issue with a lot of people. They think that I'm mean or I'm angry all the time. I'm not angry or mean. I'm just strict. I have a passion for people, you know, and it's like, and let me bring it back. When you and I first met in 2008, you was a sergeant then when we met, and you and I met back in November of last year with Deputy Director Clark. And the first thing you two said in this room meeting, you said, Shaquille, we want you to forgive us. That was the first word. That's a big word for us as a men to men, to say, you know, I want you to forgive us. Because oftentimes we miss those appointments right there just to forgive a person. And we said, how do we reconnect and build bond with our community and our young people? So I use what I've been through to help our young people to know that you can overcome whatever you are going through.
So you said a couple of really key things I definitely want to jump into. So one of the problems, and I speak to this, I think you have, but one of the problems that we see, and this is me talking as a police officer for 23 years, we're on 24 years. There is some unfairness in the system, and one of the things I see is a brother like you go to prison, get out, might even be on parole, have some stipulations, just whatever that time is. But what appears to me, again, some things need to be said, is that even when somebody like you gets out, serves your time, and is done, you're still serving the sentence. What I mean by that is, like you said, you're excluded from these things. You can't get this. This process is longer. Don't even look this way for this particular thing. So some of our brothers and sisters come out, and they may want to get back on the right track, but there's so many obstacles put there. They're like, you know what? Let me just keep hustling in the streets, and then it's a cycle. Talk about that. And that's why I think for us, we talked about last week. The part of this movement in Benton Harbor is social justice. How do we remove the barriers to people that paid their dues to society and need a fresh start? We say there's a fresh start in the United States, but is it really a fresh start? Speak to that.
No, it's not. No, it's not. And there's a lot of ex-fellas at Benton Harbor who can speak to the same thing. Is that when they say you get out of prison, you can get a job, that's a lie. When they say, well, we have removed the box on the applications, that's a lie. They still judge you based on your past, not how do I gain employment. So people say, well, I keep on arresting the same individual. Yeah, guess what? Because someone down the line, the individual gave up because I did job application. And I can tell you personally, like, there is at least 10 people or more I could name in Benton Harbor who have said, Shaq, I need a job. And I got the job list for them. And they go out and get these same jobs. But guess what? They're denied the job because their background. So when we say, well, we can change the background and help you get jobs, how? So and people say, well, you can get a job. You can go out and get a job. It's a lot of jobs. They tell them those crazy, stupid things. But when you go out there and you try it, you're still denied. And it's like now you have a sense of hope. I give up. I return back to the community. You know what? I'm gonna go back and sling drugs. I'm gonna go back and live a life of gang, or so forth, because no one will give me a second chance to better myself. And so this is the issue that is a hard topic, but it needs to be discussed. And members of Congress is not going to call on people who being incarcerated to come in and testify for them because they don't want to hear the truth. They want to figure out who has been hiring, and then you get hired for 90 days. Like, for example, I'm not trying to bash mouth this company. Everybody don't want to work at Javis downtown Ben Harbor. You know, where it's mandatory for me to work every day. If I don't work every day, you can fire me. So now that's like, what do I do? Now I don't have a life to live. So we got to figure out, how do I better myself? And for me, I have to say, you know what? The devil is a lie. I don't care who it is. You're not going to hold me back. I'm gonna go to whatever job it may be, and I'm going to better me. And that's how I did my life. Where I say, you know what? When I had the parole officer, when I had MDOC say, well, Shaq, you know, do this, I say, well, okay, well, watch why I do this here. And I had to contact every member in Congress to better myself. You know, and I'm not going to say the members of Congress names who helped me. And it was just crazy how I spent almost 6 months fighting my life to become a better African American man who have been in the system. I paid my time. So you know, how are you going to keep on paying $32,000 per year? That's more than putting a person to college in prison.
Yeah.
And so what they do in prison is this here. They treat you, when you, my crime was a low offense. So it's nothing, I didn't do murder, I didn't do none of that stuff. It was a low offense. They treat the low offense as a person who did a harsh crime. A harsh crime, you go down to a lower risk. And so they kept on flopping me. It's like, well, why you keep on flopping me? So now I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to better myself. I'm not going to allow this system to hold me back. I'm going to use this system as the stepping stone and show you that you can never and never hold me back. And I want to be the prime example. And the other men, whether you're black or white, Christian or Muslim, straight or gay, do not allow the system to hold you back. You keep on pushing forward. Whatever it takes, you break down that barrier and you tell her, I'm coming through this door. Whether you like it or don't like it, I'm coming through.
So, brother, you are absolutely on fire. So again, I want to dissect some of this stuff. And I thank you for the comments. We got comments coming in. I've been flashing across the screen. The screen. But for example, here's one comment. I'll put it on again. Even from background checks, stopped it from getting jobs. I think that is so true. We say that it doesn't, but it does.
It does.
We got another one here. A felony is a branded system to take away your citizenship privileges forever and for them to keep control over folks' lives. Mm-hmm. How it's hard to argue against that, considering your experiences and other people's experiences that I see. So Shaq, again, some things that we need to talk about. Some things need to be said. So you said during the time that you were down, mm-hmm. you had suicidal thoughts, even attempted suicide, and the Lord stopped you because He had a calling on you. Mm-hmm. So is there? And I think I know the answer to this, but I want you to speak to it. Is there a spirit and a mind of hopelessness for young men and women like you that have been through what you've been through, A, and then two, and I think that, and tell me if I'm wrong, that people don't understand how to get out of the ditch or dig the way out. How was what you were going through led to kind of that suicidal thought? Did you feel hopeless? So talk about that.
Back when I was suffering suicide was 2006 until 2014. So that's a long period of time. And mine was school. So, you know, you can go to people places, you can see them. They say, well, how's it doing, Brother Shaq? You're doing pretty good, looking good, da-da-da-da. But not knowing I'm going through a silent storm. Because if I tell you I'm going through a storm, you're going to be so judgmental towards me. And if I tell you I'm going through suicidal. So in the church, they call you a Judas. But in the world, they call you weak, they call you, and I hate to say the word, but they call you a punk, and they call you all the other names. So it's like, who do I talk to when I'm going through hopelessness? And I don't know, who do I talk to? And I found the edge when I was going through it. And I tip you all the time, it was Empire and Crystal, right next door to Barron County Dispatch Center. That was one of the bridge that I wanted to jump. And when I moved to Orlando, across the street from me where I lived in Orlando, that bridge right there, I wanted to jump and commit suicide. So at that present time, God said, I'm getting ready to use you. I'm getting ready to call you to another world. And I said, no, Lord, I want to give up. I wanted to die right now. And God says, it's not your time to die yet. You can't die. You got to hold on. You got to fight. And I found out that, you know, people who go to prison, it takes 90 days for you to lose your mind. This 90 days. And every person come through that prison system, I watch them go through the mental health lines and get on medication. And I see this, I said, Lord, why am I here? And I had an individual in prison. We call them bunkies. I had an individual who was my roommate for temporary. He said, "Shaq, you overcame suicide. Show me how you did it." And I gave him. I said, "Well, you got to give us the medication up." And he gave us medication. And later on, he said, "Shaq, I've seen him." He said, "Shaq, I gave up my medication." And I was so proud of him because he got his mind back. And so I feel as though when you talk about mental health, people are hopeless because who do I talk to in the midnight hours? I'm crying, my face is bent down. I don't have nobody to talk to in the midnight hours. And this is why I give out, this is why I bought a second cell phone. And it's not, I don't sell drugs, I have a second cell phone because I want people who are actually back in Berrien County going through suicide, who feel hopeless. They can call me. I don't care what time of night it is, what time of the day. You can pick up the phone. You can say, "Hey, Shaq, I'm going through it." I'm not going to judge you. I've been through it. I survived it. I've been through that because my mom, my grandmother, they loved me to death, but they didn't understand what it really means to go to suicide. And so I went through it, and I didn't like counseling, and I had a good counselor, but I banged out of counseling. You know what? I'm not going to counseling no more. I don't feel like it's helping me out. You know, I was on Risperdal. I was on Abilify, and if you read up on Abilify, Risperdal, it is a true saying that a man do grab an extra hormone in the chest. So my right side is bigger than my left side. And I walked around with shame for a long time. And I said, man, I wanted to have surgery so I don't have to feel like I'm ashamed. And God said, no, Shaq, this is part of your testimony. How can you tell somebody that you survived suicide without the scars or the marks? And that's what happened. So I kept it on me. I did. I still got it today. And I said, you know what? I got it. And that's what I did. And so I know how people feel hopeless. And so that's what I've been sharing my story with people now. Since 2019, June, I got incarcerated. I felt to share my story publicly with the world that, hey, I survived suicide. And actually, today is the first day I even tell people I actually was even in prison. So I served 5.5 years. You know, but you know what? I had a prayer about it, and God said, tell them your story. Even if they judge you or don't want to talk with you no more because you've been in prison, tell it. He said, because guess what? I will make them build you a table. And that's how I have lived my life today and become successful. You know, I make more money than people who talk about me today. And I'm not boasting, but I thank God. You know, I started off with a salary was $25,000. Today I'm well over $65,000, and I'm not gonna get how much money I make, but I say it for a reason because I watched people who felt hopeless, who felt as though there was no other hope for them to do something. And God said, I got you. I'm going to show you how I'm going to put you before great men. And that's what I've done today in my whole life.
So that's a wonderful story. And God, I swear we probably need more than the few minutes that we have left because there's some other things I wanna touch on.
Mm-hmm.
But let me ask you this. Because I think this is important. So in the youth today, you got a lot of people who have told us that they don't expect to live past the age of 17, 18, 25. So with them shooting and killing each other in their minds, they're not going to live longer than 20 something anyway. So it is what contributes to that mindset, and is one of the things the fact that there is hopelessness, that they don't see anything beyond the age of 17, 18. What is the mindset that makes these young kids think they're not going to live past the age of 25?
Well, you have to realize what's going on today in our society. We see a lot of injustice. And I hate to say this word because I know and I respect every woman. We look at abortion from a mother's womb, not knowing that the next time you put your foot on this man's back, that's an abortion. The next time you shoot this innocent black man, that's an abortion. We talk about pro-life, but we don't deal with the issue that goes on in our community. And we feel hopeless because who do I talk to? Who do I run to and say, you know what? I can embrace you. It's like, for example, when a child come out of mother's womb, they put the baby on the mother's chest so that baby can have a sense of knowing who the parents are. That's how we are today. We have lost our first love. So when we hear what the Bible says, go back to our first love. Remember when Jesus said, show me where you laid them. And that's what we have to get back to today. We got to go back to the places where we have to say, you know what? I'm gonna show you where I lost my first love.
Were you leaving? Where you going?
No. I'm taking you with me. You're going with me for a while. You're going with me. Going back to the
Okay.
trailer. So
All
no,
right.
and I think that's the issue we have to face today as a society, is that we have to get back to our first love. We lost it.
So Shaq, let me ask you this. And this is a tough question. You might move on. We just see your arm. Um,
Uh-huh.
so has back in the day, the church was significant as far as the things that we're talking about, support, talking to young men, talking to young women, is in your own opinion and perspective from a young man. You went dark on this.
No,
Is
I
part
got
of
you. Go to our pocket.
is part of this the fact that the church has lost effectiveness? What are your thoughts on that?
The, yes, the church have lost touch with society. We have spiritualized so much. We have lost our testimony services. We have lost how to engage with communities now. We have lost everything about how do I gain respect with people. I remember going to church, we had testimony services. When the service lasts so long, sometimes the pastor didn't even preach because people were so hyped and full of the word of God they was, you know. And I think that's the issue we have today. People have lost touch with the church because it's like, who do I talk to now? They have become so judgmental. They, Pastor, not Pastor, yeah, Pastor Donnie McClurkin said it best. He said, the reason why we don't see the church in our streets no more is because there's no offering paying there. And it was so
Oh,
understand. He said
oh,
that the reason why we don't see the church out there is because there's no offering paying. And anytime there's no offering paying, the church is not coming. And it's very true because we have judged our brothers and sisters out there in the world as if they don't know the word of God. Half of them can teach the Bible better than people who's in church. We have lost our anointing, and it's like, come on, y'all. But they don't want to talk about that because it's a hard topic to discuss because they have got so greedy. Everybody want a title. Everybody want a position. Everybody want this and that for the church. But nobody wants to get dirty in the church you know. And God said, how can you become a servant if you're not willing to serve? You know, and that's just me. You know, as a young man, I learned how to become a servant because being a servant means you have to get up in the midnight hours. Even when you don't want to get up, you still serve me. And so when people see me like in Ben Harbor, I don't care what time of night it is. If it's a fight, I'm gonna go into it because I want to still serve my community to let them know I'm here. I hear you concern. I feel you. But don't think it's me as your enemy. I'm here to help you so that you don't have to end up in the same shoes I was in. I'm tired of seeing our American brothers and sisters incarcerated. I don't care if you're black or white. I don't want to see nobody go back continue to go to jail and prison. So this is why I think my ministry is going out in the public and reaching the lost souls. And I know the church will say, well, you stood with the world who are sinners and so forth. Well, first of all, somebody got to get in the world because Jesus said he was in the world and talked among sinners. So if
mhm.
I'm talking among sinners, then I guess I'll be a sinner then. But I want to reach the lost souls then. And this is where a lot of people say, Shaq, you're church hurt. I'm not church hurt. I just see a different perspective because as a young person, we are left out in the ministry because we see things different from the older saints do, and you have to get in touch with us. I'm not saying change the church around. What I'm saying is understand where we're coming from out in the world. You know what I'm saying? So when we talk about, and I watch church members, I used to say, well, this pastor used to be on fire. But where did the anointing go? The anointing went because there was no more offering. So, and that's what happened. You don't. And I take a time. I remember
So
going to church. I first started going to church. Offering was last. Not even move offering to first. Like what happened? Let's get the word of God out with power and anointing and convict me. And one thing about me, I take a time. I thank God that when I was bawling and tearful down, and Pastor Don McClurkin said, "There's an anointing on you, Shaquille. Don't you let go of the word of God because you may go places where bullets be flying, but I'm gonna shield you." And that's how I live my life.
let me ask you this, man. First of all, I love it. Uh, Let me say this, just kind of a disclaimer. Chat with the Chief has been greatly
Mhm.
accepted in positive comments. I would say probably what the negative comments is sometimes we're too churchy. Let me say this: I can't remove who I am, and I can't remove who my guests are.
Right.
I said before, I can't take my blood out and put it on the shelf. I
Mhm.
can't separate the Jesus in me. So let me that's my disclaimer for the bottom of the hour here. So let me ask you this. This is good stuff, man. So we already talked about, and first of all, let me say how impressive it is. And this is what us older people got to see. You a young
Mhm.
brother that's working, you just transitioned to another truck, got in there, ready to go like that. We saw a little bit of shaking, a little bit of darkness, but you were able to balance that. That
Mhm.
was phenomenal. So okay, I commend you for that. But anyway, so here's my question, brother Shaq. We already established from your testimony that there's a certain air or spirit of hopelessness for convicted felons. So you don't have to be a
Mhm.
convicted felon. You can even have misdemeanors and still have doors shut to you. So you
Absolutely.
have there's a level of hopelessness and kind of nowhere to turn
Mhm.
back in the day, especially the 50s and 60s into the 70s, where the church. So before, right now we have Department of Human Services and Child Protective Services, but back in the day that was the church. So you have
Right.
these brothers and sisters who got these criminal records that are feeling hopeless. They might be feeling suicidal. They might feel like there's nothing to live for. And lo and behold, there's no, like you said, I love this, man. There's no offering pan. So the church is not there for them. So
Right.
the very support network that should have taken those people from prison and nurtured them and helped them reintegrate and to move on and be successful has turned their back on them too. Or maybe I shouldn't say that, has not been there for them. How do you see that?
Correct. It's true sin. Remember what I first said when I was incarcerated for 5.5 years. We didn't have no pastor, no chaplain, no missionary, no deacon. None of them came into the prison system. And I always call home and I said, Grandma, I need you to do a research for me because I only had a King James Version Bible. And my Bible still stick with me today in my truck because the anointing of God had flew through that Bible to use me in the dark world. To be able to, and I had a hard time because I have a speech impediment problem, so I got to slow it down sometimes. And God, and I use that Bible for that because no one in the church have come to the prison system. So, and I always tell people in the prison, if a church person, because that's what they are, they can condemn you, ask and tell them one verse of the Bible. When I was in prison, you didn't visit me. When I was sick and shut down and I was naked, you didn't clothe me.
Matthew
They will
25.
run from you. They will shut up, and because now, guess what? I got you in the ballpoint. You can't communicate no more. You know, and we talk about how I love Jesus and I love Jesus. And I love God. This is the reason why I have a passion for what I do today because I've been there with my brothers and sisters who have been hopeless, who have been down in the cell when there was nobody coming to talk to you. You know, and so this is what we have to get back to is our first love. Going door to door and hearing our brothers out, hearing our sisters out, because the people we have shut out is the same ones who want to change, but they are afraid to come publicly because we are going to judge them. You know, like I'm not bashing
Yes.
anybody who live in Highland,
Yes.
Highland or Bus, but I went to Highland and Bus for 3 years straight, and I fed them, and people said, well, they love to shoot out there. Not one time when I was in Highland or Bus projects or in that area, they did not shoot a gun. They did not sell drugs in front of me at all. They respected me as a brother and sister out there. And they said, well, Shaq, you got any Bible things? I gave them Bible out there. I fed them. I laughed and I talked with them. And so I know that there's a sense of hopeless out there. They need somebody who actually care about them to say, you know what, I'm going to bring you on board. And you get one person on board, they're going to tell their homeboys, they're going to tell their sisters out there. And now we have a string of people coming back. But I'm only one person.
This is
But
amazing.
I need people behind me who say, you know what, Shaq, I got the resources on food, I got job connections, I got transportation connections, I got daycare connection. Guess what? Now we back to modeling our home. Now we decreasing crime. Now we have a sense of a family bond now. That's what we're missing out in society today. We're missing that model home. And people who are 35 and older, they drop the ball. So now they're saying, well, why are the young folks acting so radical and crazy? Well, first of all, you dropped the ball. You laid up with your child and you clubbed and you smoked. Your child is not your friend.
Tell
And
it, man.
that's what we got to stop treating our children as friends. Embrace your child and say, I love you for who you are. So when your child come home with a brown paper bag, ask your child, what's in that bag? Because I grew up in the street near a couple of officers who said, no, you got to get in the house before midnight. And we all knew when that light come on the house, get back in the house. See, we didn't go to Union Park. We had an empty lot. That's what we played at. You know, we had the senior citizens say, no, stay right there and play kickball. And that's what we did, you know. And so that's how I grew up. You know, I didn't grow up the way they did, unfortunately.
All right. That's good stuff, man. You are on fire. I actually I am a Union Park kid. I was there every day.
Mhm.
So that's where I was raised, 1454 Union, every day at Union Park. So I get it. Um, so and this is a wonderful discussion, and it's so refreshing hearing it from your perspective. I got another question for you before I move into kind of like some of the solutions, if you will. Are
Mhm.
there other people like you, brother Turner, that's in Ben Harbor that feel the same way? That either they want to be heard, or they want to help change the community because they know how their cohorts are affecting the community. Is there a group of you guys? Not, it doesn't have to be a huge group, but is there a group of young men and women out there like you that we can tap into to help get the message out to this population that we're talking about?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I could tell you right now, there's over a handful. You want to know? I can tell you, there's over 20 people. That's particular young people. There's over 20 adults in Ben Harbor who want to see Ben Harbor better. There are people who live in Ben Township want to see Ben Township better. So it's not like we don't have the people there who only don't want to see change. The issue that we have in Ben Harbor is that leadership. Now I'm gonna be 100%. I can't sugarcoat anything.
Okay.
Leadership. As a young black man, I remember June. I'm sorry, 2019 until today. I can email Ben Harbor City Hall. Nothing gets responded. Nothing. And this is where people say, you know what? Skip it then. I'm going to do what I want to do, and this is what it's going to be. And until we change leadership and get out of our ego, where it's about me and not them, you are going to continue to have crime the way it is in Ben Harbor. And many people are looking towards the Department of Public Safety to change Ben Harbor. Y'all can't change Ben Harbor. You got to have a collective team to change with y'all. And if we are only looking towards law enforcement to fix Ben Harbor, that's not going to happen. People are hurting, you know. And we say, well, we need jobs in Ben Harbor. Well, jobs not going to solve all the crime in Ben Harbor because we're still like, hold on. If I commit a crime, you quick to call CPS on my child. And this is what we are facing today in Ben Harbor, is that we don't have leadership who are willing to roll up their sleeves and get dirty and get in the trenches. Don't just show up at my front door when it's time to vote. I need to see you every day. And let's say or not, we got a lot of issues in Ben Harbor. Not one city commission is willing to address these issues. And this is why I challenge all city commissioners to join me. Let's go door to door in your ward. We may not hit every door, but let's hit a few to get an understanding of what's going on in your neighborhood that we can help solve the issues. And this is where I really want to do right here is get out in Ben Harbor and go door to door. I'm not coming with a body camera. I'm not coming with a gun. I'm not coming with a voice recorder. I'm coming as a human being dressed in clothes like you in the hood because I want you to know that I hear your concerns, and we need to get back to loving. And if it's an issue with public safety, let's address it on their department. If it's an issue with City Hall, let's address it. But we got to come with a clean heart and allow people to break all the way down so we can rebuild them up. You know, and you know, back in '08 until 2012, Main Street Market, Main Street was a horrible street. And I will never forget, at nighttime, we had to make sure we had 4 or 5 different officers just right there to control the crowd, to move on. Let's move on. But it's different now. Now we have crime on the other side of Ben Harbor. So now it's like people are feeling hopeless because who would actually listen to me?
Right.
You know, and that's the issue we're having today. And I had a lot of people in Ben Harbor. They said, well, I called City Hall. I've done this here. And I'm going to give you an issue we had a couple weeks ago. Trash leaves, it's time to pick up leaves. Everybody called me and saying, well, Shaquille, our leaves are getting picked up. So now here I am. I got to stop what I'm doing, call City Hall 1,000 times. I got to email City Hall and say, who's going to respond to me? And then I get an email saying, well, nobody's called me. Well, Of course, they called you, but nobody know who to get through. And so they finally got our leads picked up. But this is what we're talking about right here: is that who do we talk to? Because
So
no one will hear us.
and I want to kind of dive into that just a little bit. And I know your frustration. Again, the spirit of transparency.
Hmm.
You were letting all of us have it. You were letting me have it. Public safety department have it. And I do know that some of the emails did kind of go unanswered. But I thought, I guess my mama taught me. And again, come out of
Hmm.
Mother's Day, happy Mother's Day, Mom. You can get more bees with honey than with vinegar.
Correct.
So one of the things that I saw is, again, you're letting me have it, which I
Hmm.
appreciate. Citizens have the right. Citizens have the right to have their own opinion. I've
Hmm.
said one of my frustrations is there's not enough citizens that challenge the public safety department enough. Why aren't you
Right.
asking me for stats? Why aren't you asking me what's your enforcement strategy? Why aren't you asking me what's the
Hmm.
crime in my area look like? Why aren't you asking me are there sex offenders in my area, or how can I get resources to do X, Y, and Z? Why aren't you
Hmm.
asking how can we help start block clubs? So I think my main frustration is, again, one of the things we're trying to address is the public engagement, but it has to go both ways. It's got to go
Absolutely.
both ways.
Absolutely.
So you're letting us have it again, and I believe that let's not shut a guy down. Let's hear what he has to say. We could have met and agreed to disagree,
Correct.
but again, I was one of the people you're letting have it. So I don't have any problem in putting out there and admitting that because that's true. So, like you said, you made mention to it. So we called you in to sit down and talk to you because what I
Hmm.
saw, Brother Shaq, was it was, and I think I told you this, it's not the message, it's the delivery.
Hmm.
And after we talked, I understood that you were frustrated because I didn't know about the other emails before that one unanswered.
Right.
And the Bible says they're not getting understanding. So we sat
Hmm.
down and we talked because almost everything or many of the things that you proposed were good ideas.
Hmm.
A lot of stuff that you give us, you do a lot of the legwork. It's just changing the name and moving the period and just moving on. So we
Correct.
sat down and we talked. But what I want to ask you, what did that mean to you as far as, again, here's somebody you letting have it, but he
Hmm.
calls you in, sit down and talk to you to hear what you had to say. And I think that once we talk, we both realize that we are on the same team from
Hmm.
my perspective.
Correct.
Uh, Tell me what you thought about that. And then we'll talk about, because you were very frustrated about not having anybody respond to you. And I'll let you move into this too. You're not just contacting city officials complaining. Let me
Hmm.
say this I want this very clear on this. Shaquille Turner does not contact the city just complaining and griping. Like people who come to our commission meetings, all they do, we got Amen Corner that try to find everything negative they can and complain about it. We even have some people on the commission that do that.
Hmm.
You come with solutions. Here's what I
Hmm.
talked to. Here's what I researched. Here's what I propose. This person reached out to me. Here's what I think we could do. This is what I propose. So, is some of your frustration the fact that you're not simply complaining, but you
Right.
have ideas that you may feel are falling upon deaf ears? So, talk about what it felt to actually get somebody listening to you, and then what you're trying to accomplish with your communication with the city.
So like, as I mentioned before, I met you 08 until 2012. At that time, you was a sergeant, and you was the first one gave my 800 radio, which was a Reserve One radio. And so we moved forward until November of last year. And you said, "Well, Shaq, hey, we need to be back in town. Let's meet up and let's have a meeting." And so in the month of November of last year, we went down. I came down there. I met with you and Deputy Director Clark. And in this first meeting, it was never, "Hey, what's up today?" It was, "Hey, we want you to forgive us." And it's a hard time when you have men who say, "Hey, forgive me," and we talk about publicly. It may not be with the whole community, but we talk about this with us in this meeting. You said, "Forgive us," and we said, "Well, how do we move forward in rebuilding trust and accountability from a law enforcement perspective with our community?" And I said, "You know what? Hey, let's sit down, let's brainstorm, let's figure out how do we move forward as a whole body." And so we sat down, we jotted things down, and we said X, Y, and Z. That's what we want to do. How do we move forward? And that's what we did right there. So it was a sense of like, well, hold on, I'm about to go on a meeting with these individuals. I don't think they're gonna hear me out. I think they're gonna display me. I don't think we're gonna ever work together. I don't think we're ever gonna be able to solve the crime in Ben Harbor because it's gonna be them versus me, and I don't have the people in Ben Harbor to back me up. So
Mhm.
I don't want and not only that, I don't want the residents to take it the wrong way. And they said, well, he's working with the police. So no, we got to get out that mentality mind frame. I feel as though whether if I can be the individual who can be the mediator, where the individuals in the community say, no, I got issue with law enforcement. How do I be the person to go down and talk for you and then bring you in and we have a communication and that's how we bond to solve the issues. And I could tell you right now, we had an issue last year, we had something this year with the state police. I call the sergeants, I call the lieutenants, and we get it solved because they know where my heart is at. It's not an issue where I hate the MSP. I don't like what they do in Ben Harbor. So we have the understanding, okay, how do we get out of this situation? And I talked with the people who they did something to, and we got that solved last year. And I thank God because I blew down on a state trooper, and we went back to the location with the individual located in the hood. I said, now let's talk. And I think that's where I want to see is that we bind the trust and accountability with our law enforcement and our residents of how we work together. Because, and I hate to say this here, I'm praying for the officers, but and I'm gonna get to your other question. When Officer G and the other officer Kinsley got injured, the community embraced the officers
Yes.
versus the city. I'm not being mean. I'm being truthful. We embrace. So versus the community saying F the 420 or F law enforcement, they embrace Officer G. They came to his aid and they helped them. They applied pressure to the wound until medic get there. So this is the time when we gotta say, you know what? We embrace our officers, the ones who do good in our community. You know, and that's how I see. You know what? How do we move forward now? With those same mind frames, with the residents who said, you know what, after officers, they didn't do that. They came to the officer aid and said, you know what, the individual was wrong, not the officer. And I heard that from all type of people in Ben Harbor. I was sleeping at that time of night, and I got so many different phone calls, and it was just a hard thing to understand what was taking place. But to hear a resident say, you know what, I shielded my children, I shielded my household, and I ran and got the officer and shielded him. That's a powerful understanding that this female went through. And I pray for her that I pray that she's not going through mental illness, she's not going through trauma or anything, but I'm playing back. I pray that God will give her the strength to keep on doing as well as her children. And so that's just that perspective. So when we talk about the issues of Ben Harbor, I reach out to other people and other communities who have went through what Ben Harbor is going through, where they had emergency management or people was talking bad about the community, their own solutions. And I asked them, how do you overcome solution issues? And these individuals have given me resources for free. So I try to make sure that I pass it on to my city officials, like, hey, this is how we could do X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z. But when I know you got the email, because it takes 1 second to get the email, and you don't respond back to me,
Mhm.
that frustration, that anger, and that rage built back up on me. Like, you know what? I hate you now, and I hate to say that word. I I wish I can work with my city commissioners, and it's like the mayor of Ben Harbor. I never spoke to him. I never shook the man's hand and anything. I just don't know why he don't like me. I would love to figure out how we can build Ben Harbor back up to where it used to be, but I don't see that working out at all. I wish I could work with our city commissioners. There was a couple of city commissioners right now who I know of that say, "Hey, we want to do a block club cleanup pretty soon." There's two other city commissioners who say, "Hey, I do want to go door to door with you." So if that's okay with them, I'm willing to work with them. But don't just say this is a one-time thing because that's not who I am. I want this a everyday thing where we are in our community finding solutions. And as you know, the fire hydrants in Ben Harbor is my passion. You know, and I think everybody doesn't understand the issue with me. Why I have a passion about our fire hydrants. They don't understand why I have a passion about getting Ben Harbor back clean. They don't understand why I have a passion about bringing ordinance back in Ben Harbor. They don't understand my passion why I say, you know what, we gotta build houses in Ben Harbor and help people come from dependent to independent. You know, that's just me. And I'm speaking from a young person perspective. I got other young people saying, man, I want a job, bro. I just want a job. There was an officer last year in Ben Harbor. I'm not gonna say his name over the right now. He said, "Man, these photos drive me crazy." And he was trying to stop a young kid, and me and the other young kids, I got him in a circle. I said, "Now listen, you ain't gonna go to jail. You don't get a ticket. Let the officer talk to you. I'm gonna be here with you. I got you. At that point in time, the officer just listened to them, and tears came down this man's face. He said, "I never understand why these young kids are around these folders the way they do it." He said, "I see now." This man was crying his tears. He said, "Man, I gotta go now. I'm having tears." I met him another place. He said, "Man, I ran across some 10 young kids, and I talked with them. I took them back home and talked with the parent. Their parent thanked me." Just from him saying that right there, it gave me a sense of hope that he was never understood the issues of Ben Harbor until I came with him and we sat down, we talked with our young kids. And so I believe that we could work together, but it's like Ben Harbor City Commissioners have to get off the high horse. It's about them. It's not about y'all. It's about listening to your people in your community who are hurting. And that's the issue Ben Harbor has. When they come into City Hall and they don't get an answer, they go back like, you know what? Same thing, same thing. Nobody will hear me. They talk good, but they don't care. It's what they want and not what I want. And
Yes.
we got to break that mind frame, because last year in July, the city commissioners, they said, well, give us 30 days, we'll respond back to your email. That's a lie. So the residents are asking questions and nothing get back answered. So I mean, it's like, for example, we had the Jordan family there last week, and it's like, wow, let the people talk in public comments. Let them talk. I want to hear what they got to say, because if you express to me what you really got, I could know I can now work with you, because it's like when you like you said, how did you and I and Deputy Clark get back and talked again? I may be a thorn in your flesh, but you know what, he actually have a heart for our community,
Hmm.
and that's how I look at it. That I'm not mean, I'm not angered, I'm none of that. I just have a
You're,
passion for what I do and what I love.
you're
You know,
persistent. That's what it is.
correct.
You're persistent. So we got one commissioner on here. This is Jerry Edwards,
Mhm.
who not the only commissioner, but he's a friend of mine personally. He said he would love to talk, love to work with you. I guarantee if he said that, he means that from the
Mhm.
bottom of his heart. That's a good
Okay.
man there. Again, I don't just say that because he's on the commission. Um, so that's true. So we just got just a little under 8 minutes left. Going out, and again, this has been a tremendous interview. I think it's been very insightful for me. So if nothing
Mhm.
else, I've learned some things from you. And one thing we have to understand is us old folks don't have all the answers.
Correct.
It's okay to listen and
Mhm.
learn. This is a much different day. I'm sure probably back in your day, you never seen an 8 track before or a cassette tape. My children haven't seen. They didn't know what those were. And in my day, we're not used to Twitter and TikTok and Snapchat and
Mhm.
Instagram. So we got to learn. And,
Correct.
and those are the things that I think that I'm open to. It
Mhm.
takes me outside of my comfort zone, but that's what I need to do. So, and even your comments as far as church, I love the thing is if there's no offering plate to church, they come. That's absolutely true. And us at Greater Grace, we've done away with offering. I mean, people's
Mhm.
gonna give, they're gonna give. We just done away with
Right, absolutely. And it's like right now, if a church come right on the community right now, don't come in your cross and your white collar and your title.
it.
Show up as who you are. And you
Mm,
know, there are mothers in the church who have been through abuse, neglect, domestic violence. That's what our children need. We have millions who have said, you know what, I've been on drugs, I sold drugs, you name it. How do you reach back out to the other young man and say, you know what, man, I've been through this, young brother, don't do what I've been through. And it's not that the young people don't listen. It's the issue that if I listen to you, you're going to talk today, but tomorrow you're going to leave me. And
mm.
this is what we're seeing in our community, that people from the church will show up today, but then they're gone tomorrow. But it's like, you know what? We got to be there every day. I don't want you to come there with your Bible and spiritualize everything. Because truth be told, you can get me, but the issue is I want to start with you on your level, and then we can move to the church. And when I got you to the church, we got the older saints, the deacons, the elders who gonna keep you in the church, because they know how to keep you updated in the church. And that's what we have forgot, is how do we move from giving my testimony in the community and walking you into the church, and then we can say, you know what? Okay, I'm here now. Our young children are going to fall at the altar with tears down their face and say, Lord, I got to come back. My heart is heavy, but now I can release everything. But I can't release everything if everybody going to be so judgmental towards me. You know, and I know people will say, well, he hate church. No, I love church. That's all I listen to. You know, I never did drugs or smoked. I never been to a club. If you ride with me, all I listen to is gospel music, and that's what I do, and I don't pass judgment on that. So when you mention TikTok and Instagram, that's what we are, young
Right.
people. We are on social media, and
Right.
people say, well, social media is a devil's tool, but guess what? I heard the word of God through social media. So
Mm.
don't just think that everybody, our young people, we don't listen to church. No, no, we listen to church on social media.
Mm.
So when you think it's a tool of the enemy, it's not. It's a tool that you're actually bringing me in to save souls. Because you
That's
don't
it.
know who this convicted me. I may have heard a word of God and say, you know what, dang, that's a word for me. And now I said, Lord, I gotta come back. That's what we're doing. I look at TikTok. TikTok is a tool of laughter. How do I get laughed out? And you'd be surprised at how many people would love to see a fire truck run down the street. When we had the fire truck at the Easter thing, we had young kids who wanted to be a firefighter, and he was kind of scared. So Fire Marshal Brian went around. So I got the other young man and I brought around the fire truck, and it was just a sense of wow, our young people were just a fear. We had young kids there who want to be in public safety. So there's a sense that we can do things, but it's like we got to be very creative with it.
Yeah.
And
Shaq,
that's all it is.
let me jump in on you. So that's great stuff, man. I swear I'd like to keep going with this, and we're gonna definitely have you back on. There's a young man said, Landon Egdu. How do we connect with Shaquille? Give him your contact information, your all your
So
Facebook.
my old classmate Athena, she put it on there, so she have
Okay.
it right on Facebook page right there, so it's easily find right there.
Okay.
Yeah,
So real quick, there's a lot of stuff you propose. There's some things. So again, you're a solution based person.
correct.
Just give us some things that you're working on, like right now in this season. I know there. I think I saw there's the door to door. I call it 300 doors in 30 days, but the door to door piece, the cleanup. Talk about some of the projects you are working on right now and trying to get support and push forward in the city.
So as of right now, like you mentioned right now, we're talking about going to door, talking with the residents. Now I'm one person, so I'm taking a week off. I'm supposed to be at work. I'm actually dedicated back to Ben Harbor. I want to hear from the residents. I'm going door to door with I'm asking the commissioners in their ward to come with me. Let's talk. Let's go back. Let's build a committee of residents who care, as well as commissioners. Let's build a committee of how we're gonna move forward, building a 5-year plan. We don't need an outside source to tell us how to run our community. We're gonna run our own community. I don't want none of your funding. You're gonna tell me how to run my community. I got this here. And then I'm working with another commissioner. How do we do our community cleanup? I want it twice a year. Like I told her, this commissioner, I'm gonna get dirty. I'm all in with rain. I'm out in the rain. I'm gonna drive a heavy equipment because I know how to do it. I'm gonna clean all the alleys out. I want everything done. Whenever it's on code compliance issue, we're gonna get it done together. Let's work together as a team. Stop. We gotta stop saying, "Well, I don't have the resources." No, we got the resources. It's our mouth and our hands. Let's get it done. Another thing with the passion is building a neighborhood or associations. I want our neighborhood safe. Whether we have block captains back again, and I'm talking with some older people right now who actually done neighborhood organizations. I want them to get back where we have neighborhoods safe in the Ben Harbor. So I remember growing, we had keep it safe, keep it fun, you know. So I want to get our communities back, but I can't do it by myself. I want our commissioners and leadership to work with me. Don't work against me. We may not, like you said, agree on everything, and that's okay. But how do we come together? You know what? Let's move Ben Harbor forward because there are a lot of good people in Ben Harbor. There are a lot of bad people. I get that, but it only takes you word of mouth, and we can draw our young people back. But we got to stop playing this game with our young people like there's no jobs. No, there is jobs in Ben Harbor. Let's put them to work. We should, my personal opinion, we should have had job application for our young people in February this year, making sure our young kids got to work this month, not next month. Because truth be told, I hate to say this, I pray it don't, but I do feel that the crime is going to increase after school get out. It's like we gotta be some kind of person where we gotta say, what, enough is enough. Let's bring our young kids back to the table, and I do believe they will come to the table, and that's why I want to serve as an individual. I don't want to be paid. I don't want a title. I want to serve as the beacon person, where if there's an issue, they can call me and say, "Hey, Shaq, I got an issue," and I can call a certain people in the leadership, say, "Hey, man, this will happen. How do we solve this moving forward?" Now we say, "Well, okay, we solved it. Let's keep on going." But it's like, who do you talk to?
That's it. Well, brother, you have my number, my email address. You actually got my direct number. Because again, I learned that there's a lot to be learned from
Hmm.
you. Yeah, I have 52 years of wisdom that I can pour into you. You have
Right.
experiences in your 28 years that I need
Hmm.
in my mission because our mission is the same. And I think
Hmm.
even ultimately for the commissioners, I share your pain, but I think ultimately it's the same. But we got to get on the same page.
I agree.
So I really, really, really thank the Lord for you. I thank your tenacity. You're definitely tenacious. As you know, the door is always open here. I think this was a great job. We got to definitely have you back. I love the fact that you're multitasking. I love your testimony from from prison to supervisor. I mean that's phenomenal. And I think because you actually live in Florida, correct? So
Correct.
you prove that I call it my term is the world is flat
I agree.
with virtuality and social media. We could be all over the world. I know I preached a message that somebody's watching it in Lebanon. So
Correct.
those are not obstacles. We as older people need to learn how to maneuver in this new world that you're talking about. And I keep myself to you, brother, that I will try my best to
Hmm.
learn how to do that successfully. Because at the end of the day, I want young men and young women in Ben Harbor to look like us, have jobs, be productive, to know they have support, to know that people love them, and that their
Hmm.
communities are safe, and that their children will have people to look out for them, even if not in their families. We can restore it. I believe in Mayberry. People shouted that down, but that's what we need to get back to. You alluded to it, and we didn't even talk about this before we started, but we need to restore back not just the sense of family, but the sense of community. And I think
Correct.
that you're a leader in that, man. Love you, man. I thank you for it.
Thank
Again, I
you.
don't want to be churchy, but it is what it is, man. You're a terrific young man, and we'll connect offline because I definitely want to see your ideas on the cleanup as well as
Hmm.
going door to door. Again,
Absolutely.
you are proposing things that I already talked about, which to me, as we talk, is called confirmation.
Correct.
So, with that being said, I appreciate you much. You keep driving to Iowa. Uh,
I'm already here now, so I'm done now. I'm already in Iowa.
when will you be back in town?
I'll be back in June 16th. Yep. So
Okay.
that's my. I'm there June 16th to 23rd. Like I said, I do want to do our community cleanup as well as going door to door. So that's a lot, but I want to get our young people back on board too. With that,
Okay.
if we can have our young people who say, hey, you know what? I got the park, I got the alleys. We can put our young people back in certain areas, but it's going to take leadership to say, you know what? Let me get to the school district right now and talk to our young kids who want to be on X, Y, and Z team, and we move forward. And now, guess what? Our young kids will say, you know what, man? I've been out throw it on the ground today because guess what? Now we clean up our community. We're going door to door. We're talking. We're laughing. We're crying. We're hugging. This is what we have to get back doing.
That's
And
it.
now when we go door to door, my whole plan is to ask people, you got a smoke alarm here? If you don't, you're going to get one today. And so it's a lot we're going to do one on one. And we
And
got to
we're
do it as a team.
we're getting hopefully some more smoke alarms. Ben Harbor was the number one city in the state of Michigan of all cities,
Hmm.
not cities our size, but all cities of giving out smoke alarms and CO detectors, and we're trying to get more because we want to continue that effort. So we're gonna get out of here, brother. I appreciate that. We'll connect. If you already have the schedule, the door to door on the eight on that time frame, I'll try to adjust and be part of that because that's part
Okay.
of my community outreach and my bucket list of again. I personally want to knock on 300 doors
Hmm.
and talk to people, and we'll have some door cards and whatnot. So until then, sir, we will connect again offline. You be blessed.
You
I
too.
thank you for the word that you've given us today, and I thank the people in Harbor will. And I know one thing. We started chat with the chief back. By this afternoon, we'll have like 600 views. So it'll be about 1,000, 1,200 a week when it's all said and done. So the word will get out there. We want to get it. We want to have it grow and grow and grow. Share it to your
Absolutely.
pages because what this young man has said today needs to be heard. And I thank God for you, brother.
Thank
So
you.
we're gonna sign out here until later. We'll connect. You drive safely and be
You
blessed. And
too.
we will talk to you later. Thank you all that's listening out there right now live. And for those that will listen, when you hit the recording, And again, myself and Commissioner Edwards will be definitely connecting with you.
All right, thank you. You guys be safe out there.
Yep, you too. Till next week, Ben Harper. We love you. Let's keep this thing moving.